You're very excited about this.
Well, I've seen the posters, and Child 1 was very much the Power Rangers boy, and that endless search, which a number of people went through, you had to get the white Power Ranger for Christmas. It couldn't be the green one. It was the one. It was...
He is the one.
He is. He
was the one.
The holy one at Christmas, because Christmas, as you know, is all about the white Power Ranger.
Is it? Okay, fine.
I don't know.
I just remember that there was multicoloured punching.
And absolutely, it was, and teachers and some parents thought this is a bad thing because kids go in the playground and then they do multicoloured punching.
Yeah, and then one of them was dressed in red and one of them was dressed in with the whole thing, but then they punched it, and that's how they did the thing. So, and of course with the original, they intercut, the English language stuff with the Power Rangers sequences from the Japanese, much as they've done with Godzilla. So. Like every one of these kind of these reboot things now of something that's very much like Transformers, what they've tried to do is to bring it back into the mainstream, but make it a little bit more edgy, make it a little bit more teenage. I was looking at the BBFC description, which is a 12 certificate, violence, number of spectacular and noisy battle sequences, it's Power Rangers, in which Power Rangers fight against a villain and her cohorts. Some heavy punches are thrown between two men when they fight each other. It's Power Rangers, that's what it does. Terrified people seen fleeing through the streets, and other issues include moderate bad language and a few crude moments. So basically, the way it works is the opening sequence, which is it's yet another origin story, something incomprehensible happening with brightly coloured things back in the past, everything buried, blah, 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 blah. Nowadays, cut to the future, and essentially the Breakfast Club, Breakfast Club full of misfits. Somehow they wind up getting access to the lighty up, the crystally things, whatever they're called.
What are they?
They are called, there's a word that they use, and I can't make it.
So it's a lighty up crystally
thing, and different crystally things, and they discover that they are to become the embodiment of the past. So essentially what it's doing is it's taking the Breakfast Club, and the thing that the movie revels in is that our characters are, one of them's a sports star who's let the side down. One of the characters has autism and very, very interested in technology and understands all that, but has a real trouble with friends. Another one is a character there's been a lot of publicity about being LGBT character, although it's alluded to, but only sort of very passingly. And between them, they become Power Rangers. And that surprises everybody, not least their parents.
So where were you today?
Were you with friends? Do you have any friends? Why are you so tired?
This is the problem. You ask her 4 questions before she's even answered the first.
Because she's like a ghost around here. She needs to start communicating.
Okay, Trini, let's start over. Please tell us one thing you did today.
Me and 4 kids from Angel Grove found a spaceship buried underground.
What?
I'm pretty sure I'm a superhero.
Cool. Pee in that cup.
So they're trying to find the Zeo crystal is the thing that the baddie is trying to find. There's actually no point in trying to explain the plot. It's basically Power Rangers with a Breakfast Club edge and a little bit of rude language and more punching than before. And so the best way of describing it is this: if you take a scale of 1 to 10, right, and on the 10 scale is Real Steel, and on the 0 is Transformers, okay?
Yeah, Real Steel was great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point. And Transformers is not great, okay? Transformers is just leering and vulgar and gross and all the rest of it. And Real Steel is really, really good fun. And on that scale, Power Rangers would be somewhere in the middle. I have to say closer to the Transformers end than the Real Steel end, but still actually around about the 4 or 5 mark rather than, down the sort of bottom end. I have seen some critics have really hated it, and I don't hate it at all. I thought that it was overlong, and I thought it made absolutely no sense, and it was silly. I saw it with somebody who is quite up on the Power Rangers mythology and the various versions of incarnations, which I am not. I'm absolutely not. I remember it being on, but all I remember basically was people in multicolored jumpsuits punching. That's all I remember, and nothing else. And so for me, it was just like watching another, superheroes movie from scratch, and it's sort of laying out its stall. There is some crude and vulgar humour that doesn't seem to serve any purpose at all and has probably helped to push up the certificate. Although, as the BBFC are saying there, the key reason for it is the spectacular and noisy battle sequences, which they have rated as 12. Because I know we've had a couple of people saying my kid wants to see Power Rangers, and that does make the sort of crude, vulgar humour bits seem slightly more out of place, although they're nothing like in the same ballpark as the leering quality that Transformers has. So It's too long. It's very sort of shabby and all over the place in terms of its making sense. Bryan Cranston looks like Bryan Cranston sort of appears as a disembodied form, and he's clear Zordon, and he's clearly enjoying picking up the check. Elizabeth Banks is treating the whole thing like some kind of Halloween dress-up party and appears to be enjoying herself. And there was a lovely review of it in The Guardian, written by Mike McCahill, who I think is great. I'm a really big fan of his writing, and he used this phrase. He said. He said it's very difficult to talk about this film, especially one that is, forgive me if my voice rises an octave here, not entirely terrible. And that's in that I'd like to steal that phrase from Mike McCauley. A film that is not entirely terrible. It is. It's rubbish, but it was perfectly innocuous rubbish with some moments of 12 rated vulgarity that didn't help and could easily have come out and made it a PG, but it does appear from the BBFC rating that the certificate is as much about the punchy as the
smutty.
As the other stuff. And it's, in a very corporate way, it is trying to sort of embrace the idea of of different forms of heroism, and it is trying to. I mean, there was a lot of talk about in Beauty and the Beast. It's taking an old story and it's giving it a new twist, and that's essentially what all of these films are trying to do. But too often, that is just mistaken for turning it into Transformers and making it whoa, hey, whoa, and it isn't that.